Hi muckers, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. I hope you're all having the best day ever. Thank you so much for clicking on my video today. I really appreciate your company and I appreciate you being here for this conversation, and I'm very interested to have this one, and I am incredibly curious to see what your take is going to be on this. So, I've been hearing a lot of chitter chatter about Shane Dawson recently, that he went on a podcast and apparently he actually spoke honestly, or Shane Dawson honestly, like more so than we've ever heard him before, talking about the cancellations, talking about coming back to YouTube, talking about things he did wrong, maybe things he did right. I'm gonna be honest, I didn't believe it. And it was like an hour and a half, maybe, long podcast, maybe even longer than that, I cannot remember. I have watched it now twice, because the first time I watched it, I wanted to take it all in, and then the second time I took notes. And so my notes app right now is filled with things that I have with timestamps and different things to note. And one thing I do need to say is I was actually surprised. I think we're so used to not hearing Shane Dawson speaking honestly about anything, or even if he's not speaking honestly, just being like candid and willing to answer questions about things that he himself has done. And that's exactly what he has done here. And it was so relieving to watch, because while I don't agree with the things he's saying, having a level of honesty again from Shane Dawson is exactly what has been needed. And I can harp on, and drama channels and commentary channels and people on Twitter and people on YouTube and Reddit threads and all this, we can harp on and we can be like, Shane did this, Shane did this, Shane did this. And, you know, we have every right to do that, because the things that Shane Dawson has done, especially on this platform, have unforgiving, in my opinion. However, the platform has decided that, he can, he got his little termination, and he's back now, and he has an audience and stuff. So I was like, at a bare minimum, it was very nice and very refreshing to finally hear from Shane talking about the cancellation in a way that wasn't victimizing himself and just like belittling people, calling him out. And again, one thing I will say is, like, we can make these videos calling him out, and you know that my opinions on Shane are not the most positive, for obvious reasons, but I will give credit where credit is due. I think this podcast has been one of the best highlights of Shane talking as of recent. Now, we're going to get into it now. We have a lot to get through, so get a drink, get a snack, get whatever you want. I have a water, so whatever you have. Okay, so we're going to get into it, but before that, I have this very exciting announcement. Muckers, I'm very excited to let you know before we get back to the video that this video is so amazingly sponsored by our favorites, AdamandEve.com. If you have been around on my channel for even a month or maybe a couple years, you will know that Adam and Eve have always came back to this channel to support, because the muckers love, love, love this deal. And I mean, there are a lot of companies that I refuse to work with, and Adam and Eve have been such a great company, off-screen, on-screen. Their company is great, their products are great, they have 24/7 customer service, they have 90-day no-hassle returns. It is also their 50th year anniversary, and they have just so much going on their website, and also a lot of their proceeds going to fight the spread of HIV around the world. So not only are the products on Adam and Eve amazing, but the company that you're supporting not only are a great company, but it's the biggest support that you can do for my channel. So if you use the code ADAM50 on AdamandEve.com, you get 50% off. I know you know this. This is literally half off one item and free shipping in the US and Canada. This is honestly such a great deal that all my friends and family love it, and we've talked about this, and it's just so great. So code ADAM50 for 50% off one item and free shipping in the US and Canada. Don't worry though, there is shipping everywhere else as well, and this company have the most amazing toys, the most amazing everything to do with what you could want is on AdamandEve.com. So go over to the website, just see around, feel the vibe, and if you decide that you want anything, and it will be great quality and you'll love it, maybe get something for your friends, but more importantly, get something for yourself. But make sure to use the code ADAM50 on AdamandEve.com for, again, literally half off one item and free shipping in the US and Canada, and shipping everywhere else as well. It's just like a great deal. It's like the easiest sponsorship to ever do, because the deal speaks for itself. You know what I mean? There's like so many companies that you work with that you like really have to plug them, but I feel like with Adam and Eve, as you know, because we've done this for so long now, this company's products speak for themselves, and the discount, whew, amazing. 50% off, one item, free shipping in the US and Canada, code Adam50, adamandeve.com. On with the video. Thank you, Adam and Eve. We love you. Okay, back to the video. Okay, so to just get into this, okay, my phone's at 5%, fabulous, but I have my iPad back up. So I have a bunch of timestamps, and I also have a lot of just like quotes that I want to get through. Maybe I'll read a couple of them off before we get into the timestamps. So a couple things that I noted was he says that I'm glad I got cancelled. He says that, and then he said, being cancelled made me reevaluate everything, and now I know that the internet just doesn't matter. So they weren't the things that I'm saying is like highlighting and being great. He talks as well about being shunned from the group, kind of talking about like the YouTube creators kind of pushing him out. Again, I don't have any sympathy for him. He did it to himself. But then he says the thing that I hate the most when people get cancelled, which is distancing himself from that version of himself. Now, for me, whenever people say that, it's just their way of not taking any responsibility because they're almost putting themselves as two different people. Like, oh, I don't even recognize that person. Well, it is you, and I've always said that. He says that his jokes were rooted in childhood trauma instead of him actually being a monster, but that doesn't excuse them. So this is really the first time that, you know, Shane is giving excuses, reasonings, but he's not really saying that, oh, but that forgives it. I think he's so far past the point now of knowing that that's an excuse. You know, he can say it to give context or whatever, but I think the jokes and content that he made are so far past being able to just blame on one or two things. But I at least appreciate him coming at this from a point of view, talking about childhood trauma and talking about the reason he made them, but then also saying that doesn't make it okay and I just don't stand by them, but that was me, because he does go on to say that is me and that was me. And that is the first time Shane Dawson has ever said that, and I really want to give credit there, because my main criticisms of Shane when he was getting cancelled were he kept saying that wasn't me and that was such an old version of me and I don't see myself in that anymore. But on this podcast he does sit down and say that is me and that was me, and now it's time for me to talk about why I did that. It's not going to excuse it, but I can't, you know, continue distancing myself from this person because that was what I put out there. And he also talks about the fact that he kind of built an audience off of this type of content, and I think that was also really important to note because it's what we've been saying for quite some time. He says the humor was different back then, which I hate when people say, and he said that that's why he was making the videos, but he doesn't understand why he still made them regardless of if the humor was that way back then. So again, he's kind of giving an excuse but then saying it's not an excuse, and I'm not saying that in a dragging him way. I'm saying that it's finally nice to hear Shane give at least context but then not use it as a way of just ending the conversation, which he's done in the past. He talks about the fact that he lost 3 or 4 million subscribers and it got to the point where he lost them so quickly that he just wanted to stop seeing them, you know what I mean, like stop seeing the numbers go down. He talks about the fact that it's hard for him not to notice that he used to get 20 million views on a video, which we always say, and now he just doesn't. And he says though that whenever he was getting 20 million views, it came with so much negativity because not all the 20 million liked him, not all of them were watching them from the purpose of enjoying his content. And he also said when he was getting 20 million views a video, that's all he was focused on was content and giving and more. And he said that that ended up affecting his relationship with Ryland and his relationships with his friends. And so there really was like a level of honesty here from Shane, whether he was bullshitting or not. At least to hear him sit down and answer questions with like ring around a rosy like against it was really nice to hear. And he also, one of the last things he says is that they moved to Colorado but they're living in LA right now, and they actually really shouldn't be because he thinks that because of his current financial situation, which isn't the best after all of the cancellations, he should be selling the house. So that was also something else that he noted. Now I have a lot of timestamps to get to. They were just some quotes. Do you like my Disneyland pajamas? That was some of the main things that I noted, but again, there is so much to go through here, so let's just start it. So this is the podcast on Allison Rosen. Shane Dawson returns. Allison Rosen is your new best friend, full episode. So again, watching this for fair use commentary purposes, all credit goes to their content. I will be adding on commentary. I'm watching it for the sake of talking at the end and making it my own, so don't come for me, Allison. But here we go.
Anyway, enough of that. Shane Dawson, catch me up. When we last talked...
Oh my god, sorry.
I know it's a lot. When we last talked...
It's just like the way...
What?
This is like... I started seeing my therapist right before I got canceled. And then, like, she took a week off or something happened, and then it was like, catch me up. And I was like, whoo, well, the whole world hates me. No, things are good. I'm good. It's been rough. The last time I saw you was like, oh my God. Wait, that was another cancellation.
Okay, so
Imagine having that many.
You came over to my house. You had your rings. I think you had just gotten engaged with Ryland, and I think
Yes.
maybe you were gonna like return one of the rings because you felt like it wasn't your style. Does that sound right?
Yes, my fingers have no knuckle support.
And I had just had Owen. So that was in 2019. It was like March or April. Well, he was born in late.
I'm actually gonna watch this on 1.5 speed, so if you watch my videos on that, slow it down right now, just like a heads up. Just because I realize that we have a lot of timestamps to get to, so we're gonna need to speed this up in some
I think it was
way.
like March or April of 2019 was when I saw you. You were referring to a cancellation, but maybe you have.
It was
I
the
don't know
kitty
what-
cat
I don't know
one.
which cancellation you're talking about right now.
That one was minor. That was a now,
Minor.
I mean, it's interesting. Like the way my brain processes.
Don't
things.
mention minor and Shane Dawson in the same sentence. It has a different implication.
Now I miss that because I'm like, wow, that was really. I wish I could go back in time and really ground myself and be like, this is nothing. Because yeah, that cancellation really was nothing in the grand scheme of things. But yeah, you were so nice to me, and you and your husband. Because I didn't want to cancel because I was like, I get really sick to my stomach. I cry. I take cancellations extremely hard, and I didn't want to cancel. And I was nervous to come. I was nervous to talk because I didn't know what I was going to say. I didn't want to get canceled again. And then you and your husband were just so sweet and gave me so much advice and were so nice to me. And yeah, I remember crying in my Uber and being so grateful. So thank you.
So if you don't mind, and you don't have to if you don't want. I don't want to like make you rip off scabs or anything. I'm just curious though.
Which is so fun, by the way. It's one of my issues. I love.
Oh,
but
we've probably talked about this because my favorite is like picking off a head scab and then
Okay,
pulling it
wait,
through the hair.
hold on.
oh my god,
hold
also
on.
satisfying.
To step off camera at a bar, if I understand. So good. But then when you realize the wetness is blood, like that's
To do it again, and
Yes.
also because you're, not to say this is a woman or
Hold
man.
on.
I don't know. We'll figure it out.
a bird attack.
I got canceled. Right.
Here we go.
Oh my gosh.
Sorry.
The minor, that one was over a story I told on my podcast involving my cat. Which,
Yes, now I remember.
okay, as a podcaster, you have your kind of go-to stories that maybe you don't because you don't have possibly the same mental issues I have, but I kind of used to have these stories where I knew that they would get a big, crazy reaction. That one was one of them, and it was like it wasn't based in truth, but it was based in like a sketch I was going to make in like 2010, and I was like writing this sketch, and I thought it would be funny, and then years later, I told it on a podcast.
Thank God
because I
that
was
sketch
reminded
never came to
in a
life.
conversation. I was like, well, that
Per
would be a funny story. I
Cheeto.
was always trying to make the funny, crazy stories, and my co-host would always scream at me and go, oh my God. So that was one of them, and years later, somebody posted it on Twitter, and everybody was mad. And there's only so many ways you can say, like, I didn't do anything gross to my cat,
Mhm.
but, like, also there's so many things that don't make sense about that, considering how violent cats get, but, yeah, that one was rough. But also, in retrospect, not that bad.
Mhm.
At the time, that was brutal, because it happened the day I was proposing, so I woke up, and I was, like, already nervous, or no, it was the day before. Oh, no, the day of. I woke up, I was nervous, I had the ring, I was planning everything out, his family flew in, like, I had it all set up, and then I was getting canceled, and I was like, I'm okay, I took it really hard, but I still wanted to propose, it was still our anniversary, I was still going to make it happen, and it was an incredible moment, and I love it so much, but right after...
So he basically just talks about the fact that he was then dealing with that whenever he was trying to celebrate his engagement. Now I'm going to go to the next timestamp that we have right here. Now, one thing to note is that a lot of people genuinely believed that Shane proposed to Ryland to take away the attention from the cat drama, and that's still a conspiracy theory to this day because it happened on the day. Because then it was trending that Shane was engaged rather than the cat story, but I mean the cat story ended up coming back, so.
It was so much, it was like, at that time period, Corona...
This
started,
is the next
I-
cancellation.
Oh,
Last
gosh.
summer.
In November of 2019,
The big one.
I did a series and I had a makeup palette, and it went over well. And but it was also very dramatic. I mean, like every time I would upload an episode of the series, like it would turn into drama. And which, by the way, my fault. Like I was a part of the beauty world. And
Yes.
like so.
Yes,
anyways,
it was.
it was just very intense, right? Like very, and then the palette came out and it did well. Which the flip side of that is when something goes over well, and then it kind of becomes like a weird. People who don't know who I am now know about it, or they're seeing it. So then my name kind of became this thing.
And you
like,
made $20 million
from my
plus
old
on
comedy
it,
that
right?
started coming out around that time, and then Corona, and then more and more clips started kind of coming out, and it was like, I just wanted to say something. And then Black Lives Matter, George Floyd, all that happened, and
all that.
I saw YouTubers talking about videos that they had made that they were ashamed of and apologizing. And at that point, I really I really was sick to my stomach over it, and it wasn't even like, a lot of people are like, you shouldn't have made an apology video. Why did you do that? And for me, I just really wanted to, and I felt so sick over, like, I don't know. So I sat down and I just talked about all my old sketches and that I wish I didn't do them, and then it was like a couple days later, more clips came out, and then it was like, it was too much to even talk. There's so much. I mean, I had years, 10, 15, however many years of stuff, of videos, of like hundreds of hours of podcasts. Like, I had so much out there, and there were so many different people offended that it was like too much to even like, how do I
offended for good reasons?
What do I even do? Then it kind of turned into like, and I don't want to victimize myself or be like, you know, boo-hoo, but I mean, I did. It was just like every day it felt like everybody in the whole world hated me and wanted me dead, and I was, you know, I was just, and I hated me, and then I already had issues with self, whatever, so like, now I hate me, and yeah, it's really bad. But luckily, I was in therapy, and yeah, so, but I'm alive, and I don't regret, you know, apologizing and making that video, even though a lot of people are like, that was the part, you shouldn't have done that, because you fucking, you know, then everybody went searching, and I'm like, I honestly, at this point in my life too, it's like, I would rather, it's all out there, every dumb thing I've ever said, every shitty joke I've ever made, it's all there, and it's like, now I don't know, it's like, I just want to make stuff I love, and almost 34 years old, so I want to continue and not be a shitty person. So it's like, I'm not the shitty person. I don't know. Sorry, that was a long answer, but
that's
okay. It was a lot.
So what is
he made an interesting point there, that was the people around him were telling him not to make an apology video, because then the people that weren't aware of it would be like, oh, what is he apologizing for? Then they would Google and they would see D'Angelo Wallace's video. They would see, you know, the videos on Twitter, the old podcasts. Which is an interesting point, that basically everyone around him is just trying to protect him for the sake of, like, his business. Like, no one needs to know about this. And so he's saying that he doesn't regret making that video, and he's glad that he still did it. So I'd love to know your opinion on that as well, because I know a lot of YouTubers don't like making apology videos, because it kind of brings it up to a new audience who will then go searching for why you're apologizing. So something to know.
Apology, or the accountability video, the thing that precipitated the cancellation, or was the cancellation kind of already in motion?
I think before I made that video, I had already stopped looking at Twitter because it had gotten so mean. Not even about being canceled, just in general. Like, the makeup thing, I don't know, it just got intense. And then I knew that because people were texting me, and I knew that there was some, like, clips and stuff, but it wasn't like, I didn't have people around me being like, make a video, you need to address this. No, like, nobody said that. And when I brought it up, people around me were like, I don't know if you need to do that. I was like, I just want to. Like, I just
yes, man.
Want to. Like, that's what I want to do. And so yeah, but do I think, I mean, I don't know. I think everything happens for a reason, and I think it, you know, I think if I wouldn't, and not to turn this into like a, you know, I know people get upset when, like, I genuinely am glad I got canceled. Like, I think if I wouldn't have got canceled, I'd be dead, 100%. Like, my whole world, my whole life was making these things for the internet, for strangers to, you know, that was my whole 24 hours a day. And when something would happen on the internet, it would ruin my day, it would ruin my life, it would ruin everything. And yeah, I don't know, getting canceled gave me a whole new perspective on everything. Because it does show you that it's like, it really doesn't matter. The internet dramas, it doesn't matter, you know? Real life matter. And not to say that I don't deserve criticism for the old videos. Like, I'm aware of that, and I'm embarrassed of it, and I hate it. But I don't remember the question. I don't really talk about stuff like this, so it's like weird to talk about it, but like,
One thing I do need to say is, I always feel like whenever Shane and people talk about things, I always do think it's important to remind the type of content that he was getting called out for. It was P-word content. It was, I'm just gonna have to, like, say letters here, but, like, M-word content, and stuff to do with animals, and racism, and homophobia, and you know what I mean? It was a lot, and it was like, it's also important to note that it's all well and good that, you know, we're giving him praise for finally sitting down and talking about this in some sort of way, but it's also like, he's in a mansion because of that type of content, and he has millions of dollars in his bank account because of that type of content, and he has this lifestyle because of this type of content, and there's only, like, so much, like, you can be like, okay, because your entire life revolves around the fact you did that type of stuff. That's just my take on it.
I'm just going in circles because I don't.
No, you're not. You're actually
Sorry.
you're making a lot more sense than I think you're giving yourself credit for. I mean, I had this incident.
And then we
there's
have
these mom boards on
the
Facebook,
next
which are just
timestamp, which is right here.
They're misconstruing what I said. They're thinking the worst of me. I mean, it was just like, and this is just something small that happened. It was ridiculous, but it was so traumatic, and it was such a tiny blip. So I'm just thinking, like, you know, it was like 1/1,000,000th of what you experienced. And I totally get that you're not trying to make yourself the victim here, but at the same time, I'm just thinking about sort of the scale of the trauma to your identity that this must have been is pretty intense.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I'm sorry that happened because that is like, I don't even have a Facebook because it scares me so much. Like, I mean, I deleted most of the apps off my phone, but yeah, Facebook, also Nextdoor, which I don't even know how to log into that. But Ryland's Nextdoor drama that he's always reading is insane. People are okay. Sorry.
No, it's bad. Nextdoor's bad.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. Like, parts of me, the reason I don't talk about it much is because I'm like, okay, well, I don't want to like I made a video like 6 months ago, briefly kind of talking about where I was at with everything, and I think it went over well because the video people were being nice, but also I'm sure there was a million drama videos, and I'm sure people still hate me. I'm aware of that. I don't look at it, so I don't know, but I'm sure. But yeah, I mean, I think there is, and I don't know if I'm the person to talk about it because like, but there is something to the effects. Like and I've talked about this before, so it's fine. I don't want people to think I'm like boo-hoo, but yeah, I mean, I definitely wanted to die, and I don't think if I had if I didn't have Ryland, and if I wasn't in therapy, you know, like I was ready. I was done. Like, because it got to a point where you're so like, I mean, the internet was my whole world, and having it feel like everybody turned on me. I mean, I don't even know how to, because yeah, it's justified for a lot. You know, I understand people that were upset, offended, and mad, but you know, it was like my whole life it instantly was gone. And then on top of that, it was like every day there was another thing, another. You know, and some of them were so insane and like not real at all. And it was like, this is never going to stop. It's never going to stop. And then it got to like a tipping point where I was like, I don't know how to mentally process this. Like, this is not, and my therapist was struggling with, like, we were both, how do we process this? Because like, what?
Well, it's bigger than the human brain can handle. I mean, it's on a bigger scale.
Here's my thing. I completely sympathize with everything he's saying there, and whenever they touch upon, you know, we offended people, and they were, you know, a lot of people were offended, and rightfully so. It's like, the reason there was so much content coming out, which is what he's saying, which is like, it just was every day something new, was because for 10, 15 years, that was literally your career. 10, 15 years, that's what you did to make money. 10, 15 years, that's what you did to sustain your lifestyle. And you did it more because, you know, it was so outrageous that more people were watching it. And if you're going to tell me that even back in the day, Shane Dawson was, and not even back in the day, a couple years ago when he was making this type of content, that whenever he got backlash for it, he didn't stop then. He did it more because he was then getting views from the outraged people. But then in today's world, you know, that doesn't fly. And it's like, I just think that there's so much context to be, like, missed there, where it's like, yeah, so much came out every single day, because for every single day, from 10 to 15 years, that was what you did to make a career. Offending people, pissing people off, pushing the limits, pushing the envelope, not in a good way. And it was like, there wasn't that many people on YouTube that were doing that. And there's not many people on YouTube now that were doing that back then. Because people have mentally moved past those people and been like, oh, that's not a creator I align with anymore. So it's like those people took their money and ran. That's honestly just how I feel about it. It really is.
Like being shunned.
Yeah, definitely that. Definitely like, I think, yes, being shunned from the group. But also like, I had distanced myself so much from that version of myself. I mean, I've known you for, I don't even know, probably 2012 maybe?
Or 2011, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So like,
and it was like,
yeah.
And so I went through this whole struggle of like, what the fuck is wrong with me? Because there's a thing where people were really like, oh, he's a monster. And I'm like, okay, I know I'm not a monster, I know I made a lot of horrible choices, and I know a lot of them are rooted in a lot of my childhood issues, and like, why did I feel so freely to joke about certain things? Like, I'm aware of all that, but I never did anything with the intention of hurting anyone. And I think that's the thing where I would look back,
something only he would know,
whatever, and I would just,
I don't have any comment
even
on that.
more so hate myself, and even more so be so, like, that level of self-hatred on top of it feeling like the whole world hates you, but also feeling like I'm a fully different person, like that was me, but I was like so distanced from it, where I was like, that's not me, that's not me, that's not me. But that is me, and that was me, and why was I, like, doing that?
Oh, I'm so glad to hear just that sentence from Shane, which was, that was me, that is me, because that is, like, too many people, including Shane, use that, Jeffrey as well, use that to get away from being called out. Oh, that's not me anymore. So you can, that's not me, but it is you. It is you.
Like, I wasn't some monster walking around fucking being horrible to people. I've always been a nice person, so I'm just, like, it's just so insane to me. And then, you know, there's other elements to it, like, well, the humor was different back then, and everything was different, and, which, yes, I agree, but, you know, it's still crazy that I was just like, I don't know, like, why? So yeah, so that was something I had to really unpack the last couple of years, and yeah, I mean, it's hard when it feels like the whole world hates you, and you also hate you, and on top of that, you're like, how am I here? Like, why, because people were watching those videos back then, which is why I'm still around, because a lot of people are like, I've been watching since I was little, and I'm like, so, well, this is so fucking confusing. It's like,
okay, and then, this is the final timestamp that we're going to get to, which is whenever he's now talking about the difference in his YouTube now in terms of analytical, and I think it's a really interesting conversation about how many subscribers he lost, and different deals he doesn't get now, and the views being different, and the kind of thing we touched upon at the start, that, you know, is he happier now, is he sadder now? So we're gonna get to that. Here we go.
oh my
Or
gosh.
did you lose fans? Because it's like, I looked at your podcast in iTunes, and you just launched, and you already have, you know, thousands of 5-star reviews, and I was like, oh, maybe this is your feed from before, but it's not. Like, those are all new. So I mean, you have, you know, hundreds of thousands of views on these new like, you still have a humongous audience who loves you.
I mean, I'm so intensely grateful for because it was at a point where I was like, I didn't think I was ever going to come back and make YouTube videos ever, because it pushed me to my own actions, and also people hating me did push me to the darkest literal suicide fucking place ever. So I didn't think I'd ever be able to make anything again. And then it was like last October-ish, I just wanted to do something, and I was like getting antsy, and I was just like, I want to make something. And people have been very nice, and I'm so grateful, because I was not expecting that at all. I mean, I think it's like, yes, I think I lost. I stopped looking at the date, like the number, because it would make me sad. Now I'm just grateful that it wasn't all of them. But it's like when you lose a bunch of weight on like Weight Watchers, and then you start gaining it back, but you're like, I didn't gain all of it back. It's like the same feeling. I'm like, it's only a point. I think I lost, you know, probably 3 or 4 million, you know, on YouTube subscribers.
It's a lot.
And we're fast.
It's like James Charles level of losing.
And yeah, but I think it's just one of those things where, and yeah, it is hard to not compare, like, oh, I used to get 20 million views on a video, and now I'm not. But also, like, somebody was telling me the other day, like, getting that many views on something comes with a lot of costs. It's
valid point.
You don't get that many views on something, and it's not all consuming with criticism and this and drama. And like, I've never been more miserable than when I was getting that many views. Like, my whole life was consumed by it. I was missing out on real life things. My relationship wasn't as strong. Like, it was fucking horrible, but creatively fulfilling. And now it's like, oh yeah. So I'm grateful. But yeah, a lot of people did leave, which is, I understand.
Okay, and then the final, so this is like a timestamp literally for like 1 second, is whenever he talks about his current financial situation and the decision to move to Colorado and what they feel that they need to do with their LA house, and then this is it. So here we go.
I went out there, I think that was last summer.
Colorado.
And I love his family so much, and they live out there, so we go out there for holidays and stuff. And then we were there, and Ryland was like, I found an open house, and I was like, we're not going to actually move here. Like, there's no world where he's going to... I've always wanted to move there. I love Colorado. I was like, there's no world where he's going to let that happen. And then we fell in love with the house, and then we were both ready, and so we did it. But now it's a place where we don't know what to do as far as, like, we're in LA right now.
Oh, okay.
Because we came back to sell this house, and then when we got here, it just felt like not the right time to do that. Financially, I really probably should do it, especially after, the worst couple years ever. I was like, I should probably sell my house. But I don't know. So now we're in a weird place. We're going to go back to Colorado soon, and I guess we're going to try to rent this house out. But yeah, I love Colorado so much. It's just so...
Good luck to the person who's going to be renting out in Shane Dawson's LA home. I'm sure it has the best vibes and the best smells. So, Muckers, I want to know your opinion, your honest opinion on all of this. My take on it is I still feel like there's so much context missing when Shane talks about all of this. However, to hear him at least answer questions without just shutting them down or whatever is at least a step in the right direction. If he's going to be on the platform, I would at least have like an honest conversation about it. I really want to know your take on it. I love you and thank you for watching this. And yeah, we have a lot to discuss down below. So let me know. And I love you, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye! What do we think, by the way? Do we like... They're so comfortable. They really are, like, the most comfortable pajama bottoms ever. I wore them once to LAX airport, and the worker made fun of me. They were like, why are you in your pajamas? And I went, oh, I thought that these would, like, pass as, like, really cool, edgy trousers. But I got called out, and I loved it. I deserved it. I don't know why I told you that. I love you. Bye.